So here's our program. I've already got basically everything we've had before, only I've added one piece, and that is this text up here. So we're going to print the score on the screen, but let's talk about how that actually works. So to do that, I'm going to go with a new sketch for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the text function. The way the text function works is I can write text and with parentheses. Now the first argument in our text, so we've got three arguments. We've got what we want to print, on the screen, comma, the X and Y position. Now let's see if we can figure out how that works. So if I run this, our canvas is 400 by 400. There we go. You'll notice, what point do you think it's using? Is it using, not using the center, because if it was using the center, then the text would be centered on the screen, and it's not right now. So it must be using one of the corners, but which corner? The top corner or the bottom corner? I'm not sure. So let's find out. What's a good way to do that? Well, if I change the Y value to 400, it should move down, yeah? So if it's the bottom left corner, we'll still see the text on the screen, but if it's the top left corner, we won't. So let's run that and see what we see. All right, so now it seems to be the bottom left corner. Now let's make it 0, and if it is the bottom left corner, that tells us where our text is, then it will be off the top of our screen. There we go. So we know that that's what's going on. So if I want it somewhere near the top, I'm going to write something like that. And if I want it to be more centered, I have to think about it and I have to move it over. And that's going to depend on, there might be a good way to do this. I don't know. All right, so that's how you put text on the screen. Now, all of this is also in the reference. So in the reference is a section on typography that you can also look at. And you should look at it because I want you to be a little better than just plain text. Maybe make it bigger, maybe change the color, maybe do something. I don't know. Make it look more interesting than this. All right. So again, here's the reference on text. And again, we can use single quotes or double quotes for a word or for text, but we can also print the value of variables. Okay. So if I go back into my program, I'm going to quickly show you. I'm going to create a new variable called clicks, and then I'm going to, rather than put in quotes the text, I'm just going to write the word clicks. All right. Now I'm going to come down and do I want clicks gets clicks plus 1. All right. So now when I run this, you'll see I'm printing clicks, which is 0. But if I click the mouse, see how it's increasing? Every time I click the mouse, it goes up by 1. But what if I wanted to say clicks equals and then the number? So if I wanted to, I could come up here and I could go, okay, text, this makes, and then I could say clicks equals, comma, and then if I go 150, comma, 50, that should do it, right? Let's find out. Oh no, now I'm putting it right on top of it, so I'm gonna have to move it over to the left, aren't I? Well, how far to the left? I don't know. And I don't have a good way of figuring it out, so I'm just gonna guess and check. Well, it's close, but it's not quite perfect. You'll see I've got more space after the equals than before. And then I could increase this a little bit and see what happens. And now it's too close, and now it's less than 110, maybe 107. But there's a better way. So let me show you the better way. So rather than this, I'm going to get rid of this line, and I'm going to use one text statement to print the whole thing. And I can do that by coming into the text here and putting my clicks equals, end quote, and then you would be tempted to put a comma, but if you put a comma, it's going to be wrong and it's not going to work right. Well, yeah, see what I'm saying? That didn't work right at all. So no comma. Where'd my cursor go? There we go. So instead, we're going to write a plus, okay? Because if I write a comma, I'm saying it's the next argument, right? it's the next argument. And if this was the first argument and clicks was the second argument, because there's a comma here, then that's telling it that the X position is clicks, which is 0, which is why I put it over here on the edge. All right, so that's not what we want. So instead of the comma, we need to make sure it's the same argument still, which means there's no comma. So we do this. So it's the word clicks space equals space, and then we add the value of the variable clicks. And since we're adding a number to a word, it just turns it into a word. So now it says clicks equals 0, and it's spaced exactly the way I want it to be. And now when I click the mouse, not so bad. So this is how you use clicks. Sorry, this is how you use text. And you're going to use that in your simple game because we need a score, and we want the score to increase as you catch the ball. All right, so that's the one new piece of code that we needed. Now, the other things we're going to need to do in our code, you're going to want to try and, so you're going to increase the score when you click the thing. You're going to make everything look better, and I've got some directions for things to look at. But then you're also got to think about if it's a game, there should be a way to lose the game. And maybe as you play it, the game should get harder as you play, okay? And there are a couple simple ways to make it harder, and there's a couple simple ways to make you lose. And the other thing is we can use the no loop function to make the game stop. So let me show you that real quick. So if I just go back to the thing, I don't need to save this. Go back to our tap the ball game, and if I change this down here to now say no loop, what's going to happen now is if I catch the ball, the game will end. This would be a really lame game, so I can click right here, nothing happens. But if I hit the ball, it stops moving because no loop says stop the draw function from looping over and over again endlessly. That's what no loop means, okay? So this is not where you're going to put it right here. You need to figure out how you'll lose the game, and you need to add some code so that when you lose the game, that the game ends. And the simplest way to do that right now is no loop, and then we'll make it a little better as we go forward. All right, so in our description, you will see there are several things to do. You're going to improve the aesthetics. So that means make it look better. I also have one mistake that you're going to fix in my code. So let's go back and make sure you've seen that. Ooh, wrong one. All right. So you'll notice that the ball vanishes before it leaves the screen and reappears fully on the screen. That's not what we want, right? We want it to be all the way off the screen and then have it come onto the screen. So fix that problem. So that's the first task. And then you're going to make the text look better. It's kind of small. And then you're going to maybe add some color, jazz it up a little bit. All right. After you've done those tasks, then you're going to make the game better. The score should increase every time you click the ball, okay? The score should increase. You should think about a way to make the game get harder as you play, all right? And again, I want you to do these things in this order, okay? So in this order, I want you to do these things. So, and these are some different ways that you might make the game get harder. And then, and don't forget, if the ball gets smaller, you should also make it the area where you have to tap it get smaller too. This one's a little harder than making it get faster. But if the ball gets smaller, then I should have to, the area where I have to actually click it should get smaller as well. Then you got to have some way to lose. Maybe you have lives. So if you miss it, every time you miss it, maybe you lose a life. I don't know. Maybe the score goes down every time you miss it, and there's a certain number of clicks. Or maybe if you get to a certain negative score, you lose, and your score is really based on how fast the ball gets. Who's the high scorer would be. I don't know. There's different ways to think about that, and I want you to think about it a little bit and see what you can come up with. And then, as a bonus, swap your robot in for the ball. Ooh. And if your robot's really big, it's really easy to hit a really big target. So maybe there's one spot on the robot that you have to hit. And then maybe add a background picture. Ooh, that's fun. And so here's a video for how to bring images in and put them into P5. All right. I want you to start at the top, work your way down, and I want you to turn this into me today so I can see exactly where you are. Even if you don't make it all the way to the end, no matter what you are able to accomplish, I want you to turn this in today. All right, get started, and I'll see you next week.